Okay, wonderful. So you should be able to see us live on YouTube shortly as well. Welcome everyone. My name is Daniela Flores from the Harder & Company facilitation team. We are excited for you to all join us. We have Liz Love from our team as well, and Amy Ramos will be joining us a little bit later in the meeting. Welcome, and I hope you're all staying safe. We're gonna get started with the AB 617 meeting for Arvin and Lamont. As usual, I just want to remind folks it's really important that you remain muted. If you call into that toll-free number, we can also hear you if you're unmuted, so make sure to unmute yourself there with your phone. Before you would like to speak, you can always unmute yourself, raise your hand, and we'll be sure to make space for that. If you haven't already, feel free to rename yourself on here. And here are the instructions. Hopefully these look familiar now. One thing I didn't mention, if you are joining us over the phone, if you would like to unmute yourself, you press *6. To raise your hand, you would press *9. And just reminding the residents that are in the stipend program to be sure to, to stay 75% of the meeting, so at least 90 minutes to receive your stipend. And posting here the group agreements that you all have been working with. And as a reminder, you're always able to amend these if you want to make additions. We welcome that. So here you have agreed to help achieve the meeting goals together, focused on solutions, making space for everyone to participate and be civil and respectful with one another. Really doing our best to stay on the point and on the time, so that folks can continue with their evening at 7. And as you know, these topics are important for ourselves, our well-being, our community's well-being. So want to focus on respecting, really directing our comments to the issues and not individuals, and seeking common ground when possible. And these, I will just share them in my screen in Spanish as well and give folks a second to read them. And the ways that you might want to amend, if you ever do want to amend these, you can either, let us know through the chat during these meetings, or you can email the Air District after. You can email Harder & Company, or you can let us know at the pre-meeting forums as well. We welcome any of those changes. Finally, here's the agenda for today. After our welcoming remarks from the community co-leads in the Air District, we're going to dive right into the emissions, a review of the air monitoring at 5:10, and hopefully that will set us all up for our activity taking place at 5:20, when we will be working on a monitoring exercise virtually. So we're going to learn a lot together at today's meeting, and around 6:45, we'll begin to wrap up. And at that point, as always, you can contribute topics that you want to see at future meetings, and we'll hold some space for public comments right at the end. Here are the instructions for public comment, and I'll go ahead and share them as well once we get to public comment. With that, I would love to invite Jessica Olson for any welcoming remarks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniela, and welcome everyone. It's definitely going to be a very dynamic and different meeting. You probably noticed there are far more district staff on this call than usual, and that's because most of the meeting, as Daniela outlined, is going to be conducted in breakout, so smaller rooms. This is very much like the exercise we did in July, where we talked about sources of concern, but we're now taking and building upon air pollution concerns, upon emissions inventory discussions, upon the work that Gustavo presented last meeting, and Chai presented last meeting, and John presented last meeting, kind of all of the different sort of historical air monitoring that's happened. And we're going to hear from all of you where we think collectively we can start to identify locations for air monitoring equipment. So it's going to be a very dynamic meeting. I have a feeling it's going to go by very quickly, and I just want to welcome you all and thank our co-leads, and definitely kick it off to either Bianca and or Gustavo right now to mention, have some welcoming remarks, but I will just give them a lot of credit for a lot of great hard work that they've put into just supporting all of you and communicating all of your concerns ahead of these meetings. So welcome, thank you, and I'll kick it to Gus or Bianca, whoever wants to go first.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. In order to save some bandwidth today, I will be off of the video for most of the meeting. But no, I just greatly appreciate everyone for joining. I see, the amount of participants just keeps growing. It was at 40 just a couple, like maybe less than a couple seconds ago. Now we're at 50. So that's really exciting that, these communities are participating. And I'm glad that a venue like this exists for us to participate. Bianca?
Bianca, if you would like to make a comment, feel free to unmute yourself and I'll be looking out for you. I did just want to interrupt for a second. I see Sunshine T1 on here, and the name does anyone know who that is? It looks a little suspicious, and I'm just want to make sure it's not someone that's just Zoom bombing this meeting. So I don't know if anyone from the community knows who that might be, and I'm going to be trying to message them directly. But if you do know, please send us a private message or just type it in the chat. That way we can problem solve that.
I think it's my phone. I tried to end with my iPhone. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, don't be sorry. I'm gonna admit you. I just wanted to be I've had a traumatic experience after that happened, and I want to make sure I don't put you all through that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, don't be. Thank you so much.
I'm actually gonna rename that one. I was getting all the names corrected. Sorry. That's why I haven't been able to speak up.
No need to apologize, Bianca. If you have a welcoming remark, we welcome you at this time to share any thoughts.
Well, I wanted to share that it's very important. This piece is very important for the whole process, and I'm very hopeful that we do have a lot of participation at the moment, and they are ready to go. So I'm so excited that the residents are here and giving all their input.
Thank you so much, Bianca. With that, I will turn it over to Jessica from the Air District and can kick us off with the emissions inventory information and air monitoring technology review.
Thank you. So you should have through email and through snail mail, this exercise today kind of required not only, of course, a lot of interest and participation and efforts on all of your part for the sort of overview I just gave and all the work we've done the past several months. But we also sent out and posted some tools that allows all of you to sort of visualize some of the work that we've talked about kind of in a different way than we've seen it recently. And so right now I'm just going to briefly review some of those tools. They're a little bit different and more interactive than the paper versions that you've seen, although they were linked in the digital version of the agenda if you did get a chance to take a look. I'm going to review them, but really each of the folks that are going to lead your breakout groups will also have the tools that I'm sharing with you, and we're going to drop them in the chat right now. I'm going to ask that Heather drop in the chat the 2 maps that I'm about to share with you. And we also have a Spanish version, so she will also drop that in the chat. And I will probably share a little bit of each so that folks that are that prefer to read or speak in Spanish can see what I'm sharing as well. So that is sort of just my high level caveats. So one of the things that we probably first main exercise that we did, I'm just going to share as a brief reminder, and I'm going to try to find my screen. Here we go. that we first worked on in the Arvin Lamont community as a team was, you probably remember this, we've brought it up a couple of different times, but if you remember, if you were a part of our July 28th meeting, we did a breakout group where you all told us all of the sources that you were concerned with or types of concerns you had throughout your community related to air quality. So I'm actually going to drop this in the chat. This is a tool that if you click up here, you can actually select Spanish, and you can have all of this translated into Spanish. So I will drop this in the chat, but definitely using this tool, you can go down or you can even type in Spanish, select Spanish, and everything will be translated. So I'm going to translate it back because I am not super great at reading Spanish. So I will translate it back to English, but same thing goes if you are looking and a comment is in Spanish because a community member typed it in, you can see it in English if you go here and click English. So this is for really everyone. I'm just dropping this in the chat to remind you of sort of where we started and kind of how we're going to build on all of this. So dropping it in now. So that link that I just dropped in, feel free to peruse without me or follow along with me, but this is just a reminder of the first type of exercise we did. And this was, again, this is the community's concerns, right? What the community knows, what their lived experiences are, what are the community's main priorities. And these are all things that are developing into potential CERT measures that we want to talk about probably at the next meeting, but also going to help us today when we talk about air monitoring. One of the other pieces that we talked about, but we didn't quite talk about it in a mapped version until recently, is the emissions inventory. So you probably recall, this was 2 meetings ago now, we had a presentation from CARB and from the Air District about all these different types of emissions, whether it was on road, so like a truck or a car, off road, like a tractor or like a construction equipment, whether it was a stationary source, like some sort of industrial source or facility, or whether it was what we call area-wide sources, so farming or cooking. All of those contribute to what we call the emissions inventory. And so we looked at and took that inventory for every single source in the community and mapped them on the boundary that you all sort of worked together to create. And so this map, and there are printed out versions that are static, so you can just see the darker means it's just relative to the rest of it. It is the most of that particular pollutant. So in this case, NOx, the darker NOx, you can see it kind of aligns right with like the main highways that go through the Arvin Lamont communities, because we know NOx comes from tailpipes. It also comes from certain sources. In this case, there's stationary sources in this particular cell that contribute to more of the NOx than other types of sources. But again, as you click through, you'll see that it's, in some cases, it's more of the mobile sources. You can click through each of these different emissions. Oh, I'm sorry, am I going too fast? Okay, sorry, I thought I heard someone. You can go through each of these different types of pollutants and actually see the different shaded areas related to that pollutant. So again, it's a little bit different for each type. What is the darkest? As you can imagine, once again, diesel PM, for example, we've talked about that being one of the primary toxic components of particulate matter. You can see it kind of aligns with the roads, right? But you can see where it's darkest, and especially you can see this is in the community of Lamont. VOCs is another piece. And then this is just if you wanted to see all the grids without seeing kind of shades behind it. So that's just sort of an empty cell. What we want to do today is take not only a look at these, but break up the community just piece by piece. These aren't actually like boundaries or anything. This is just a way for us to kind of go section by section in an organized fashion and take a look and work together in our breakout groups to look at each zone and say, okay, what I know about emissions inventory, maybe what I know about some comments that were made on this map in zone A. How do we work together to figure out, or maybe not even work together, how do I give my personal point of view, as a committee member, where I think air monitoring is best placed. One of the things that help make that decision, and maybe you're asking yourself, well, I already talked about where my concerns were in the community, why don't we just monitor there? We talked a little bit last time, and actually a couple of CSC members alluded to this as well, is it's not just where is our emissions happening, but when we're monitoring, typically we want to monitor where are people being impacted, because that's going to be the true measure of what's happening, what people are breathing. And so one of the other tools, and this is also in the maps that we sent out, are not only, of course, you know where people live, right? You can see where there are houses and neighborhoods, but we also located where schools are and where care facilities are. Typically what we would just call like sensitive populations. So maybe vulnerable people, like younger people or older people or people with health issues. When you take a look now at all of those things combined, that might help better direct you, your group, or even just you as an individual, where to best identify locations that we want to monitor for. So that's just generally kind of an overview of where we've been, what we've talked about, a little bit more visual than what we've shown in the past. And again, these zones that you will go through in your groups, these don't really mean anything. It was just a way to help break it up. You do not have to think of it zone by zone. You can go and say, I think we need to concentrate monitoring in Arvin and in Lamont, in Arvin and in Lamont and in Weed Patch, because that's where the people are. You definitely don't have to look every single zone. It was, again, just a way for us to take it step by step. So that is one piece that that is really a significant piece. Again, we do have this. This is actually located on our Arvin Lamont site. We also have it in Spanish. And so I just want to really quickly, I will show you, the link is hopefully, I'm assuming, dropped in the chat for you all. But the same thing, you can see the list of the types of pollution sources, the list of the schools and the healthcare facilities, as well as the emissions and types of emissions, is all here in Spanish as well. So I wanted you all to know there are two different links for you to dig through that information. Finally, I will share with you, of course, as you can imagine, we're trying to do this in a sort of an organized fashion. So we got a clean map. We want you to have all of these tools behind what we're going to talk about. That was the request we heard from the last meeting. Hey, can we build upon what we did through all of this? So we definitely want these to be available. We want people to look at the emissions that are happening in their community, but taking a look and going through your exercise, we only have one toggle here, and that is for you to tell us where you think monitoring should happen. We talked a lot at the last meeting about the types of monitoring, and so I'm just going to kind of hop right on over, and maybe I'll just go straight to this presentation. Again, we have this in Spanish as well. I'll throw that up here too, so you can use this, and we can drop this in the chat as well, to kind of remind yourself what the monitoring types were. But I'm just going to hop right over here. This is the monitoring that we generally talked about in the slides above on what types of monitors can monitor for what. Today, we definitely don't need everyone to be an expert in monitoring and say, I think we need one of these and one of these here and one of these here, and remind yourself what VOC species are. We want to use this to develop the next step, which is coming up with kind of the specifics after we get the general where you want to monitor. That said, as we go through this exercise where you will tell your person facilitating, hey, I am, and I'm going to put a test here so you'll see it on when you go into your groups, but I live in Fuller Acres. I really think that I want to monitor, this is my neighborhood. I think that monitoring in this neighborhood makes sense to me. You can drop something in here. I'm just going to put tests so you all know. You won't have to do any of this. The person who is facilitating your group will do all of this. You will just verbalize what your comments are. let them know if you're a resident or not. It's just something we want to keep track of, sort of what the resident specific concerns were. And when your comment is added, it will stay there just like the other time we did this exercise. Eventually, when we come back from the breakout groups and we click refresh, we should see lots of blue dots, and we can imagine that a lot of them will be clustered around each other. The more information you give the person who's facilitating about why you want monitoring there, the better we can work to talk about at the next meeting what type of monitor most likely belongs there. That way we work through it together and we don't have several different kind of conflicting ideas. But generally, if we say, okay, a lot of folks in this area were interested in monitoring for impacts from industrial sources, generally we would say, okay, well, maybe it makes more sense to have something that's collecting toxics and VOCs rather than just PM 2.5. So the more information, the better. And then we'll work with you all on the next step, which is the actual monitors. Two more things I'll say, and then I'll take any other questions, is one thing that was not the case last time was we do have a monitor that is outside of AB 617, but within the boundary. And what I mean by outside is this was actually a part of a rule, a district rule, where community air monitoring needs to go by certain petroleum refining operations. And this is an air monitoring station that was deployed at Mountain View, the school down here in this zone. And these are the types of pollutants that are monitored there. So again, when you break out into your groups, your facilitator will open this up and you can explore it a little bit more. And I will also go in and drop this link, which is the website for this particular monitor. I'll even hop really briefly just to show you what it looks like. And you can actually see the different pollutants that are in real time being monitored at this station. So you can actually go back, see what monitoring looked like before. For some reason that just went offline. It was just here, but I'll double check, make sure everything, there we go. Just needed a quick refresh. You can see all of the most recent monitoring measurements at that site. So that's not to say that we can't also suggest additional monitoring in this zone, but I did want to let you all know that there is already monitoring. So it's almost like there's a bonus kind of extra here that's outside of 617, but within the boundary. This is also just the site we've talked about before, the CARB regulatory site. All of these little pink guys are a quick high-level summary of the main sources that were brought up in this exercise. So you don't necessarily, of course, go back and forth and ask you can do it on your own, or you can ask your facilitator to go back and forth. But if you wanted a quick reminder what the main concerns were, these are also listed here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. It is very hard talking that long and not seeing folks, and just kind of do a couple more things. One is when we break out into groups, your facilitator will ask for someone who is willing and interested, especially if we would love it if it was a resident, but definitely not required. Whoever is a willing participant to help do sort of a report out after you're done. And that way, when we're done, we can see everyone's all on the same map. And we'll go kind of group by group with a 30-second rundown of maybe what the biggest discussion topic was, or maybe the most important thing that you discussed when discussing monitoring. So that's the first thing. And the second is, I don't think I can emphasize enough, is as much detail as possible for why. Because again, Brad Dawson, who is our supervisor over the community air monitoring section, he's going to be one of the breakout group hosts. Him and his team are going to take all of that, and at the December meeting, when we convene, the more detail he has, the better we can then describe sort of what type of monitoring should go where. So I know that was a lot. I know that packet that we gave you is a lot. And so I want to iterate. This is our first kind of initial, like, it's going to be kind of messy. There's going to be a lot of opportunity and a lot of things posted on the map. But it will help us sort of like go from big to littler to smaller, and we're going to hone in on where we want monitoring. And it's really a community driven process. So we really look forward to the engagement. if there are even more detailed questions, we have lots of folks that are going to be in these groups and they can help answer them. But we really look forward at the next step at the next meeting to the map will now then say, okay, we're going to have PM 2.5, or we recommend, rather, we'll talk with you all. We recommend, based on your comments, PM 2.5 should go here. A big trailer full of all of the toxics monitoring should go here. What do you all think? Let's, discuss or move if necessary. So this is not our only opportunity. It's just our first one. Daniela, I'll kick it to you and see if there's any questions before we break out. And I know that breakout groups are a lot, so let me know if we need a little bit more time to coordinate.
We're all set with the breakout rooms. Just, yeah, I know that was a lot of information. So if folks do have questions that others might have, we can use a couple minutes for that. Each of you will be in a group of about 5 people. So really we have about 45 minutes to 50 for this discussion in the breakout room. So hopefully you feel like there is enough time for each of you to really contribute to the conversation.
I saw one of the questions and the answer is yes. Any and all types of monitoring that you're suggesting, even if it's pesticide monitoring, we are committed to working with any and all partners in all the different types of monitoring. So pesticide monitoring is just going to help us identify, work with DPR. We've already been working with DPR and OWIHA and CARB on a future pesticide discussion and presentation. And so the more information, the better. So certainly the answer is yes, Gustavo.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Jessica. Okay, I think we're set. Yeah, I see someone unmuted.
It's Mario.
Oh, hi, Mario.
Yeah, I'm seeing that you guys are talking about, diesel trucks, cars, gases, of all those type of deals, but you guys are not talking about the waste, the water waste that they're dumping over here, in Lamont. Talking about, the liquids the big corporation are dumping out here in the backyard and dumping out their dirt with toxins and pesticides in it. And they're just pouring it right here next to Lamont. I don't hear nobody talking about that. I wonder why.
Well, everything that I just mentioned is part of the emissions inventory that is intended to capture every single emission source, whether it's area wide, which does include like wastewater treatment facilities, or it's mobile, which yes, does include the trucks that you mentioned, or if it's stationary. So if we're talking about a specific facility that has a permit with the district. But what I'm thinking, Mario, and maybe we can talk a little offline, because I wonder if you have a specific concern that maybe is more of a concern we can address.
Yeah, it's a big concern because it's doing both things. It's creating gas and it's poisoning our water. They're poisoning our underground water because the rules and regulations and the boundaries are broken. The way I see it. And I don't see nobody talking about it. I mean, this waste is already getting dumped over here in Lamont, all around us. I'm seeing it. There's no signage telling the citizens that that's what they're dumping there. And I'm very concerned because I don't see nobody speaking out for that reason. And that's why I want to speak out, because I want to make sure we get this fixed.
So what can we, Mario, because I definitely, anything that seems like it's an illegal activity and something that the Air District can follow up on.
Well, the problem is that I got too many fingers pointed, and I talk to people and all that, and they say, well, you have to talk to these people, and these people talking about talk to these other people, talk to the water district and talk about the county, go over here, talk about, it's just giving me the runaround. And the problem is this problem is not getting fixed. The rules and regulations are broken. There's no signage telling the people what they're dumping at the landfills or nothing. There's animals dying, there's birds, dogs who are drinking that water is dying out there that I seen. And there's nobody even speaking about it. And it makes me wonder what's going on. if this is something very important for our health issue, I mean, we should fix it. Let's fix up that rules and regulations and boundaries. They are broken. That's my concern.
Thank you, Mario. And Jessica, do you feel like this is something that we could bring back for sure at the end of the agenda where we have discussions of future topics? That might be
absolutely. And I was just reminds me, and you all hopefully saw it, we actually added in an additional meeting December 8th specifically to talk about rules, regulations, and enforcement. And I'm wondering, certainly just in general, to talk about opportunities there, of course. But also, Mario, if you don't mind, can we follow up with you, whether it's tomorrow or next week? I know next week's Thanksgiving, but just I'd love to just have just maybe some time where we can kind of specifically talk about it a little bit outside of this, because I do actually, to your point, I would love it if in your group, identifying those locations, if we're talking about air pollution monitoring, that's exactly what we want to talk about today, are those concerns.
No, but I'm just putting that out there because I'm seeing that nobody's talking about it. And it's a big concern for me because the citizens is not aware about it. And that's what I want them to be aware what's going on. Because this is something very serious. It's a big health issue. You know, because they follow the rules and regulations and the boundaries, so-called, they say, but I'm not seeing it that way.
Absolutely, Mario. Yep.
You know, it just sometimes I get frustrated sometimes because I don't see nothing towards that route, and it's wrong. It's wrong. Because we're trying to help out the people for their health issue, but if we can't do it because we're just running around, you know, cutting corners and stuff like that, that's the way I'm seeing it. And I don't want to cut corners. I want to fix up the problem.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. That's why I'm with you guys to try to fix up this problem. And it's a very big concern. And I want the people to know. That's all.
Thank you, Mario. We'll certainly be sure to add that into our action items as well. There were two questions, and I'll just share them briefly. From Emma, will you add the current oil refinery monitoring link, please? And to clarify, is that monitor live?
Yes, and I added it. I said, Emma, yes, and then I added it there.
Thank you.
So yes, no, definitely. And that was a great question. I didn't clarify that.
And then,
And I see Paulina's question. Discussing pollutants is 100% okay. We just didn't want people to feel like they had to mention scientific, pollutant names. But if you want to say, I want to monitor for benzene and toluene at this location, that's 100% okay, Paulina.
wonderful. Looks like we're all set to open up the breakout rooms. So you're going to be placed automatically. You might see a notification on your screen and just basically click yes to join the room. And we will be able to let you know there's a facilitator there. We'll let you know when to come back to this large room. And if you do have issues, come back to the main room and we could troubleshoot. Thank you all. CSC Okay. All right. So hopefully everyone, I think I see one more person that, okay, actually, yes, that's it. If you wanted to float into any of the rooms, I'm not sure if you see the notification on your end, but you can let me know, for example, folks from CARB, if you wanted to float into the different rooms. If you're not able to do so on your end, I can go ahead and send you to that room.
Yeah, that'd be great. I don't see any of the options. I don't know if I maybe joined with the wrong link or something, but
No, you probably did everything right, and it's just
Okay.
the options you don't see it on your end. So I'm gonna go
Okay.
ahead and it really is pretty random. So I'll just go ahead and put you in Brad's room.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And if you wanted to come back and go to another room, I can do that as well.
Awesome, thanks.
You're welcome. One second.
I'm still here.
Yeah, no, I know. Let me click it. Let me click it. I saw that they changed their name, so.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I'll just go ahead and put you in a different room, but there you go.
When they come back, we still need to address Jose's iPhone
Okay.
later. And then I think Gabriella must be Gabby Ojeda.
Hmm.
Didn't rename her either.
Let me see.
And then Danny, we also have a Galaxy
Oh yeah,
Galaxy
current.
tab that we should figure out too later.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, that it's in a room.
I know I did put them. I was like, I maybe I should have held them here and
I'll jump
just
in that
ask.
room and see who they are.
Okay, thank you. It's a good idea. And then Avi, I know I can put you in a different room if I know we talked about that as well.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't see any rooms on my end.
Oh, Amy, I'm sorry. I need to make you co-host. Okay, there we go. You should be able to hop in and out. And Liz, I think you can too as well.
And Eric and Lily, if you have any interest in popping into a room, just let us know. We can put you in one.
It's okay, thank you. I'm just observing. I'll wait for the summary.
Wonderful.
I don't want to seem biased or anything.
Yeah, I'm good too. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good. And I think Danny, in this room, I think we could do it either way. I think if you want to like post up the message, feel free, but also I think just what had suggested also feel free to like refresh that map.
Yeah, let me
as
see if
people start.
there's, yeah, that sounds good. Let me see if there's activity and then.
It probably, I imagine like in this early moment, probably not so much, but maybe a few minutes in.
Wow, there's already one. Okay, let me go ahead and share that screen as well. Okay. Awesome. The harder team is just gonna float into the different ones to see if they can be supportive in any way and just
Sounds
try to
good.
capture some themes if possible.
Awesome. I'm gonna just pop into a couple of the rooms.
Sounds good. I'll be
See you in
here.
a minute.
Mhm.
Hi, team.
Hey.
Just an update. We got the Galaxy tab renamed.
Oh, cool.
And we have actually got 2 Spanish speakers in that group, but we got lucky because Emma from Leadership Council is in there as well. And so they're doing consecutive translation.
Oh. Which one was that?
It was Minerva, who was not renamed yet, and the Galaxy tab, which was also not renamed. But we're okay. We're okay. Emma's in there and it's working just fine. The only drawback is that the on-screen is in English.
Okay. All right. That worked out. Okay. Note to self. Okay, cool. So right now we just need to figure out Jose's which one, which last name.
Yep.
And then
I think
Gabriela.
the one that says Gabriela is just make sure that's Gabriela Ojeda, because I thought I saw a different line with both of them on it, because they usually come together, she and Jose.
Okay, I'll double check with them. Thank you, Heather.
No problem.
Charbel. Is Charbel from any of your teams?
They are, I believe, a representative from business.
Okay. Hi, Charbel. This is Daniela from Harder and Company. Wanted to check in if we could, so they're doing a breakout room activity right now for air quality monitoring. So I can put you in a breakout room if you would like to join. Excuse me for my background noise. All right, I'll just hang around to see if they unmute themselves.
I'm also just popping in here because I wanted to ask if one of the interpreters here, while you're in here, would mind translating some of our action items. Amelia, I think you've done this before. This part of it, as our kind of like regular staff that does it, is actually, they're actually running the breakout rooms right now.
I don't think I've translated in the past, but I could give it a shot.
Sure.
Typically, we don't really do like on-site translation just because it's a little difficult and we want to make sure that we get the right translation. But yeah, I can go ahead and give it a shot.
Yeah, awesome. If you feel comfortable, yeah. I think maybe it was Rena that did it last time, but I'll go ahead and message you the link.
Okay.
And typically, yeah, you'll see the English part of it, and then just below is where you can go ahead and put it in the Spanish. And all you need to do is the top item that's in the top table, the thing at the bottom. Exactly, yeah. So I'll go ahead and just private message you that.
Sounds good.
You can see an example in the third page, I believe, of the translation, like how they format it.
Yeah, no, it's not really the formatting. It's more of the wording, because I know that sometimes like you use different words for translation. So that would just be the only like, what would it, caveat? But no, yeah, for sure, I can give it a shot.
Feel free to give it a shot. And Maricela or maybe Anna can take a look at it definitely later.
Hi, Celine. Not sure if you, I know you were in a breakout room. Not sure if you were logged out and logged back in. Let me know if you would like me to put you back in the breakout room.
And you know, Danny, I wonder, because I was like, oh, Charbel, the name, like I did rename them. I think they're already in a breakout room, so maybe they joined in 2 separate settings.
Oh, okay. All right, that would be good. Let me look for them.
I think maybe in 4.
Okay. Hi, Charbel.
Yeah, I'm on my phone for the
okay.
video, but on my laptop for the video. Is there any way I can be put in the breakout room on my laptop?
Let me go ahead and do that. Thank you for letting us know. Hi, everyone. If you're watching us on YouTube, we are sharing our screen with the live updates to the exercise that the community steering committee is currently working on. So if you're interested, you can see here, I'm refreshing the map and all of the blue icons here were, let me change the language. So here, if you see the CSC suggested monitoring, those are all the blue icons with a small graph. Those are all the suggested monitoring locations that the CSC is currently working on during the small groups. So you can see this live. I'll be refreshing this periodically as well. So feel free to stay tuned on this channel. Thank you. Hi, Jose. Hi, Jose. Can you hear me? Buenas tardes, señor José. No sé si me escucha.
Sí, perdón, se me cayó la llamada.
Oh, no hay problema. Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Ahorita lo puedo poner en el grupo. ¿Cuál es su apellido, señor?
Ojeda.
Ojeda. Ok, perfecto. ¿Con quién estaba? ¿Quién del distrito estaba en su grupo hace un momento?
No alcancé a escribir su nombre.
¿O quién más estaba en el grupo que se acuerde?
Estaba la señora Mireles.
Ok. Mireles. Mireles. Déjame ver.
Diana Mireles.
Ok. No la encuentro. ¿Alguien más que se acuerde? Oh, aquí está. Ok, lo voy a poner en el grupo otra vez. Ok, señor.
Muchas gracias.
Claro que sí.
Hi, my name is Margie Madera. I was in the room 8, I think it is. Can I get directed back there again? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. Were you with Alonso Washington from their
Yes,
district?
I was. I had to
Okay.
log out because I was driving and then now I'm at
No problem. Let me go ahead and put you in the 8th room.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Yesenia.
Hi, Daniela.
How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Doing well.
Good. You were in another meeting.
I was.
Glad it's you've transitioned on and almost done with your workday.
I'm here and ready to support.
Wonderful. Right now we are just, holding space for the breakout rooms. Would you like me to actually I think last time you might have supported with the action item interpretation or translation, and I know Emilia from Linguistica was working on that. So I don't know if you need support with that, Emilia.
It was just one action item, right?
Yeah, just one right now.
Yeah. Then no, yeah, I finished that. You're good.
Okay. Yes, Anya, totally up to you if you want to take a little break or if you want me to put you in a breakout room. I think if we do have more action items, I can direct message you that link in case you want to support with that. But other than that, you let me know if I should put you in another room. There's the Spanish groups that we have. We have 9 rooms total. So yeah.
I can stay here and just put me in a break room. I'm needed. I may be needed.
Okay. Perfect. For now, I think we're okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Song.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, same here. Just popping in to see if you need anything or to see
Thank you so
anything.
much. We are okay right now. You can let me know if you would like me to put you in a breakout room if you're interested, but I think we're good to go right now.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me just hang out here and then I'm gonna go dark and then just let me know if you need to pop in anywhere.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Sabrina and Juliet.
Hello. We got disconnected.
No problem. Who was in your room? Do you remember the air district person in your room?
No, but we were in a Spanish group.
Okay, let me
We
see.
were with someone with the name Gabriela.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and put you in room 3, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the main room. We're just going to wait a few minutes while folks transition into this room before we begin our large group share out. Welcome back. I'm just going to give folks a few minutes to transition back. Excited to hear about all the great discussions you had. Welcome back, folks. All right, giving it a few more minutes, waiting for everyone to come back to the main room. So everyone, if you were identified as a resident that is going to be sharing out during this next portion of the meeting, feel free to get ready. We want to hear from you about what really stood out from your breakout rooms, and if there are any items that require action so that we can put them in our action items, we'll be happy to hear that. So wonderful. So it looks like we're all back. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you had a really rich discussion. It looks like you did. I'm displaying all of the wonderful work you all collectively did. I would love to invite us all to engage in a large group discussion now with everyone here that attended the groups. Again, we'd love to get the conversation started by hearing from those community representatives who were identified to hear what really stood out from that breakout group discussion, and if there's any action that's required so that we can capture them in our action items. I have the map of your exercise displayed, so if as you're sharing, there's, you want me to zoom in somewhere, I can try to do that as well. With that, I'd love to see if any of the residents here would like to raise their hand or unmute themselves to get us started. Okay, go ahead, Marta. We'll get started with you and then we'll go with Jose. Or Jesus, I'm sorry.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, hicimos la actividad con Marisela y expresamos nuestra preocupación por los pesticidas que tenemos en los files todo alrededor, por la contaminación de camiones que transportan las cosechas y de los pozos petroleros que tenemos en nuestra área también. Nos gustaría saber qué tóxicos están emitiendo. Gracias.
Thank you so much. We all did the activity with Marisela, and we expressed our worry for the pesticides that we have in the fields and the contamination of the trucks that carry the fruits, and also the different petroleum sections that there is, or oil sections.
Muchas gracias. Thank you, Marta. Jesus?
Hi, we had Brad Dawson, I believe, as our person in our group, and our group consisted of some residents and industry representatives, Robert, Gus Jr., Hector, and then we also had Stephanie in our room as well. But we talked about the air monitoring that currently is taking place at Mountain View Road near the middle school there. We also spent time talking about the wind directions in this area in particular, coming from northwest going towards south, and also that we experience times where we have inversion winds, where the air is just kind of stagnant and stays here But we also discussed about East Panama and Fairfax, there being dairy, possible contaminants of the air coming from the dairy. We also discussed a rotten egg smell, which Gustavo kind of helped talk about what that usually means. And right towards the end of our discussion, we had some input on Grimway Farms, where they are located in and around our community, and talked a little bit about how they get rid of, for lack of a term, of their wastewater that they use maybe during the process of cleaning carrots. Carrot water was what I have written down here. And right towards the end, we talked about a possible toxic dump site, which I thought was pretty interesting. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing those and elevating those areas, Jesus, on behalf of your team. Thank you. Cesar, would you like to share next?
In our group, we shared an interest in VLCs and volatile organic compounds, mainly through sources of agricultural fields, dairies. Also, another concern was diesel pollution, as highlighted Bear Mountain Boulevard on the 223, Weed Patch Highway on the 184, and sites of high diesel traffic like the Lamont refinery and the Empaques on DeGiorgio. We also brought up some concerns around dust and pesticides coming off of agricultural fields surrounding residents, schools, and other sensitive receptors.
It's a great summary. Thank you, Cesar. Janet, would you like to share next?
Hi, yes, thank you. In our group, we talked about possibly placing monitors in areas where a lot of residents reside. Areas like Bear Mountain Recreational Park in Lamont and Smotherman Park in Arvin. And also it was brought up in our group that an area in Arvin, which is near Arvin High School and Grimway Academy, it's Nelson Court, where there was a gas leak a few years ago, apparently, and residents had to evacuate their homes for over 8 months. And that was really interesting because that would be an important area that we would want to monitor for that air quality out there. And we did talk about agricultural areas, a lot of diesel truck pollution, and also areas that are near packing houses.
Wonderful. Thank you, Janet, for that summary. We have Melinda from John's group. Would you like to share next?
Sure, thank you. I think everybody did just a fantastic job at summarizing their comments already, and I think largely hit like everything that our group had discussed. I mean, absolutely what Janet just mentioned about the gas leak area where people had to evacuate, that was on our list. Areas along Main Street and Bear Mountain Boulevard to further assess like the truck emissions and just traffic related emissions there. Kind of areas known like that for maybe stationary monitors, but then even looking at some additional areas related to pesticides or to some of the oil production or dust around maybe use of the mobile monitors or, you know, parking of the van to collect more data to help inform whether stationary monitors were necessary in a couple other places like that. And then certainly maybe it was Cesar that mentioned it, but looking at areas where people congregate or where the community comes together, the different parks and that sort of thing.
Thank you so much, Melinda. Emma, and you were in Jessica's group. Would you like to share?
Yes. So in our group, we also talked about the dairy over on East Panama Lane in Fairfax. There was a discussion on not only the dairy waste sense, but also fire and smoke coming from the actual dairy, and sewage smells coming from actually the place wasn't identified, but they were mostly smelled over by North Wheeler Ridge Road and Bear Mountain Boulevard. And folks also identified Alicante Elementary as one of the locations, and Weed Patch Park as another sensitive receptor area where monitors should be placed. In addition to a
where monitors should be placed.
In addition to a Kern Ridge branch over on San Diego, and I can't remember the other street, but over on San Diego. And in the Fuller Acres area, the almond orchards behind the residents' home was identified, which also follows the perimeter of the canal in that area.
Thanks for that, Emma. And I see Rob, I know you're attending as a public member, but you were in Emma's group as well. Did you want to add something or?
I just wanted to ask a question about Jesus's report. I don't know if now's the right time to do so or not.
We're almost about, we need 3 more groups. And then if you want to keep your hand raised, and we'll go ahead and call on you at that point. Wonderful. I don't see any other hands raised from the groups, but I'm going to ask if there's a group member from Anna's group or Silvana's group. We do have time for that report out. Roberto, I think you might be unmuted.
Yeah, Roberto was from our group.
Wonderful.
Sí, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Pues en mi grupo tuvimos bastante trabajo que hacer, ya que identificamos muchos sitios donde se necesitan los monitores. Identificamos la 223, la Sycamore, la Comanche, donde realmente sí necesitamos el monitoreo porque hay bastante contaminante de pesticidas, de los camiones que pasan por medio de la ciudad, la Nelson Court, donde hubo el derrame de petróleo. O sea que tenemos un montón de lugares donde necesitamos el monitoreo. Tuvimos muchos lugares identificados, pero pues desafortunadamente no hay mucho tiempo, pero sí queremos recalcar que la mayoría de la comunidad de Arvin pues está de acuerdo y coincide en todos estos lugares donde se necesita el monitoreo. En Lamont pues bastante también lugares que se necesitan los monitores, así es que pues esperemos que todo esto sea una realidad en el futuro.
Muchas gracias, Roberto.
Good afternoon. Well, in my group, we had a lot of work to do because we identified a lot of sites that need monitors. We identified 233 Sycamore, Comanche, where we need monitoring because there's a lot of pesticide contaminants and the trucks that pass through the middle of the streets. And also we identified the oil leak in Nelson Court, and we identified a lot of places, but we didn't have a lot of time. And I also want to mention that the Arvin community is also agreeing with all of these places that we've mentioned, and we hope that they get fixed in the future.
Wonderful, thank you. Is there a resident from Silvana's group or Alonso's group who would like to share?
Sí, soy Gabriela. Estaba en el grupo de... Nosotros encontramos 4 zonas de contaminación más preocupantes, de mayor contaminación, que vienen siendo el área de la esquina de la Comanche y la Vermontan, porque están pompas de petróleo. También en la Comanche, enfrente de la escuela Vermontan, porque está el sembradío de almendras. En la Sycamore y la Tejón también está una fábrica de químicos, de plásticos. Y también en otra zona que está en la Franklin y la Tejón. Ahí también escogimos que es una zona de preocupación. También otro que está enfrente de la escuela Greenway, que están las pompas que están echando pues contaminantes visibles que podemos ver en los humos, y también en la esquina de la Willie Ridge y la 223 también decidimos que es una área que se pueden monitorear bastantes de todo, pesticida, de los camiones, de los files y del reciclaje. Esas son las zonas que nosotros escogimos para los monitores. Gracias.
Yes, I'm Gabriela, and we found 4 contamination zones that are more worrisome. There is Comanche and Bear Mountain because there are oil pumps there, and there's also Comanche in front of the school because there's an almond orchard, and Sycamore also has a place that is emitting toxics because it's a plastics fabric, I believe. And Tejon is also another place, and another one that is in front of Greenway, which has pumps, and those are emitting contaminants that are visible because we can see the smoke. Another one is also Woolly Ridge and 223, which are areas that can be monitored from pesticides to trucks and even the recycling that occurs. And those are the areas that we identified.
Thank you. Gabriela, voy a tomar esta oportunidad para confirmar su apellido. ¿Cuál es su apellido?
Ojeda.
Okay, gracias. Thank you so much. I'm going to read a few comments from the chat. So Emma she reported back earlier, and she wanted to also mention that Maria also identified heavy truck emissions located at their current oil refinery due to the heavy truck traffic coming in and out of the refinery. And then we also had a comment from Jesus Perez. We should monitor the air we are breathing in the towns and cities of Arvin, right in the middle of every town or city. Thank you for those comments. And we have one more group, and I believe we haven't heard from Alonso's group. If somebody would like to share from that group, we'd love to hear you. And if there's another group that I missed, let me know as well, and you can feel free to share. Okay.
Hi, Daniela. Sorry, I think a couple of our group members were busy, so I will share on their behalf if you don't mind. Our group really focused on sensitive receptors in the area, so focusing again on schools. I know like hospice care facilities had also been thrown around, and essentially being able to track down essentially where each of the pollutants were in the highest concentration, and then being able to essentially figure out how close they were to, again, places like schools and other locations of the like, to make sure that the most sensitive people were being taken care of.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Alonso, and for everyone that shared out on behalf of your groups and for engaging in that dynamic exercise. I think it sounds like you all have identified priorities together and a lot of different options for locations. I would like to turn it over to Jessica or any of the community co-leads to see if you all have any reflections. And then once you cue me, I'm able to create some space for Rob as well to share his question.
Absolutely. I will. I think it's really reflected in the map that Daniela showed at the beginning, which was the collective, and maybe I'll just share it now that I have the floor, that all of what you just reported out verbally, I think is very much reflected and a similar thought process kind of happened. Although, of course, we had several folks that maybe identified kind of one-offs here and there. It's actually pretty hard to find one comment that doesn't have a similar comment next to it, which again, I think is reflective of a lot of folks wanting to monitor in the center of town, like Jesus just mentioned, of both Arvin and Lamont, near sensitive receptors, like Alonso's group talked about at schools. And then of course, impacts that they know that they're experiencing, whether it was from some activity that was maybe due to dust, or heavy duty trucks, high truck traffic in their areas. So I just want to let you know that everything that you said verbally, I know is captured here as well. And so I appreciate all of that. As mentioned in the beginning, the next step, we will preserve this. This will always live here. And we will also post this link to our website. So you can always see this map and see the individual comments. But what we will do next time is you will see most likely, or definitely, I would say, where a lot of the sort of aggregated or big groupings are, a general recommendation from the district based on the comments of maybe a type of monitor we would look to place there, and then have that discussion with the committee at that meeting if that looks like generally the path we want to go down. Do we want to make some tweaks here and there? I can definitely see us targeting, again, those big central locations, certainly where people live and work. So I appreciate all of that. I'm very, very grateful for all of the work and all the different groups. It clearly was a good effort. And I agree, I would love to hear if the community co-leads had anything else to add. Daniela.
Take it away, Gus. I see your hand raised.
Yeah, and I know SoCal Gas had their, Brother Rod had his hand up. I'm not sure, want to give space to him or I could go.
Your call.
No, he's had his hand up for a while. Go for it.
Okay, man. We're going to create space for Rob, graciously offered by Gus. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. When Jesus was reporting out on his group, he said Gustavo talked about a rotten egg smell and what it usually comes from, but he didn't say what that was. And if they suspected it's natural gas, I just asked that they call SoCal Gas so we can come check it out if there's a leak of some sort. So I just want to throw that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. One thing that I would like to mention in this conversation and in previous conversations of this, some of the highlights for sure have been, and I think the brother Jesus brought it up today as well in our conversation about having like current and historical wind road data. So like where the wind is coming from and where it's going. And on top of that, understanding inversion layers and the seasonal inversion layers that happen here, right? And how that affects wind and how it doesn't. And in that, the two kind of major things that were brought to my attention by residents were open agricultural burning, which I'm not sure if it has been mentioned here. I know the Air District and the state are already moving forward, rather fast on this issue. So I think updating the residents on what that issue is and how that will affect this region, particularly because of the stock of agricultural burning and kind of what its roots are. And then we didn't really get to tap into Arvin actually a lot because we had such a great conversation with the other regions. But one thing in Arvin that historically has been an issue, and I say historically because my organization that I represent runs a reporting platform that gets reports from residents, and the pesticide drift issue in South Kern, particularly around Arvin, has been one of great concern. So I don't want to step away without mentioning that. Whether that consists of actual pesticide monitoring by DPR, and do we invite DPR, or at what point do we invite DPR to this conversation, but also just like general pesticide enforcement information or kind of reports in this region have been high.
Thanks for those comments, Gus. Bianca, I'm wondering if you have any observations you wanted to share.
No, not at the moment.
Wonderful. Well, it sounds like this was a really fruitful exercise. So thanks again to the amazing facilitators at the Air District for your time and commitment on that. With that, I would like to transition us over to the next item in our agenda, which is really to start wrapping the meeting up. I'm going to turn over the floor to my colleague Liz, who will kick us off with this item and share the action items and walk through them.
Hello, everyone. So
the first action item we have here. Just give
Liz,
a,
can you zoom in a little bit, please?
yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Maybe. Okay. Is that better?
Perfect, thank you.
So the Air District will follow up with Mario and address his concerns about the corporations dumping solid and liquid waste pollutants in Lamont that are affecting their groundwater. This needs to be addressed immediately, and I do hope that those with the power to do something treat this with the urgency that it deserves. Next, if there are people who work or live near locations where the air monitors are going to be placed, it is important to share those contacts with the Air District. This will help expedite the installation of monitors. A new map will be created to reflect where there are big groupings or clusters of places where monitors should be placed based on this exercise. If anybody smells odors such as sulfur or anything that would indicate a gas leak, please contact SoCal Gas so that they can address the situation. The CSC would like an update about the progress of open agricultural burnings that are happening. And they would also like to see reports on pesticide pollution that is happening in the area from DPR. And I'll pass it back to Daniela.
Oh, you're muted, Daniela. Sorry, you might be. Uh-oh, I don't know if maybe something froze on Daniela's end.
I will ask to unmute you, Daniela. So let's see.
Perfect.
You should see my request on your end.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rob.
Rob. Thanks, Rob, for that phone number. We can add the number to the action items that appear on the website. So just to follow up as Daniela's unmuting, these action items, as already agreed, will appear on the website, and you'll be able to track those action items as progress is made towards addressing them. The next item on the agenda is to talk about suggested upcoming topics. And so we have some SERP measure development, the Department of Pesticide Regulation review of pesticide monitoring in the community. And I know there's, Jessica, I'm not sure if you want to add anything for our December 8th meeting, because we'll have 2 meetings in December, and I see Daniela has unfrozen.
Yay. Yes,
Oh.
I will add that the December 8th meeting, so I want to be clear about this. Thank you, Dr. Ramos. The December 8th meeting will be specifically about regulatory and enforcement. So what are the regulations, both at the statewide level and the district level, that all of the different sources have to comply with, or essentially what are the rules they have to follow, right? And then how are those rules enforced, both again at the statewide and at the district level. So those presentations will happen on that date. It will be the meeting after, so the week after on the 15th, that we will talk more about monitoring some of these action items, as well as some of the items that were just brought up, whether it's a bit about DPR or that happens at the January meeting. We certainly want to talk a little bit more about next steps with air monitoring, as well as some of the new items that were just brought up, like agricultural burning. We also want to make sure that that December meeting, that's why it's the first thing here, we start talking a little bit about SERP measures. So we will send some handouts ahead of time to help prepare us all for the discussion of what actually goes in our community emissions reduction program that will work together even more closely over the next few months to finalize.
I see Emma has her hand raised. I just wanted to remind you that this is where you can find all of the action items and all of the agendas and the transcripts, as you already know. We want to make sure that this link is available to you all. Emma, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to mention that in speaking with residents, not everyone received the packet, the packet ahead of time. I think folks maybe received it a few days before, maybe 2 days. So just wanted to please request that the information be sent a week in advance at least. And then also there were some folks who received 2 packets in the mail. One of them being the maps and the other being the monitoring presentation that we received last month. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to receive both, but it seems like most only received the maps. And I apologize for all the background noise. Thank you.
No, it's okay. Well, certainly we do send everything out a week ahead of time, although I do agree we were a little bit later getting out with the holiday with Veterans Day that happened last week. So that might have been some of the delay. We have experienced a little delay too, just recently with COVID, but that is our commitment, Emma, so I agree. It was our intention to have those monitoring packets. It was just sort of as a reminder. I believe, and Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, if you received that air monitoring presentation before, I don't know that we included it this time. It was more intended for everyone that wouldn't have had it the first time, because originally we sent it only to those who do not have an email address that they regularly use. And so this time we said, okay, well, we sent those to those folks at that time. All of the other folks that regularly get emails and use email to correspond with us got both the maps and the air monitoring packet, just as a reference for today's discussion. Yes.
And if you did receive multiple packets or documents in there, it's probably because it's a multiple family household. So we would include one packet or one package for every member so that they have their own to review.
Great, thank you. And I see that Gus has his hand raised.
Yeah, I think this is just one request that actually came out from a previous meeting, or if not the agenda setting meeting, where I think we had discussed on the potential, so we discussed a lot of where we want monitoring and what potentially we want monitored, but I don't think we've discussed what monitors are available or will be available and what capacity and realistically how much monitors, can we have in the community? When will we cover that?
Definitely. I mean, we can talk right now, just in general, based on kind of our discussion today, 100% at the next meeting, our expectation or the map that we will show will be reflective of the number of monitors we think that we can do or estimating to do. I'll say right now, we're estimating it to be the same number that we do in Shafter. So 4 standalone PM 2.5 monitors, although again, we're going to look at this and maybe it's not necessarily PM 2.5 as the driver, although kind of looking at this, it is. We're going to propose one of those compact air monitor systems that can do toxics, it can do VOCs, it can do PM 2.5 as well. And then one of those fully loaded trailers that in the case of Shafter is put at the farm labor camp kind of to the north of Shafter, that does toxics and a variety of different species, that sort of thing. But that's just the general proposal until we look through all of the comments. It's possible, I know that there were lots of comments about dust. And so, it's possible that we do something that can monitor PM10 rather than PM 2.5. So that's just the general approach. Again, when we come back to this group, we'll put our general approach out there and then talk a little bit more. And that doesn't even include the potential to work with DPR on pesticide monitoring, which would be in addition to all of that.
Got it. So preliminary, I just as a starting package per se for potential standalone PM monitors, the mobile unit, which has multi-sensor, and then one standalone multi-sensor?
Yeah, so one small multi-sensor, so small being it has a lot more than just PM 2.5,
Right.
but it's kind of compact, and then one really big one that can do toxic, like all the different kinds of toxics, kind of anything that we want to target. So that's all of that, plus the already occurring community monitor that's near current oil, so that already does BTEX, but this would be in addition to that. As well as I failed to mention, we will bring the air monitoring van down as well.
Thank you so much for that clarification, Jessica. And I see Gustavo Sr. has his hand raised as well. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I may miss the conversation. I think in last meeting, we had the conversation about changing the name from Arvin Lamont to South Kern. I don't know if I missed that conversation because I think last time the majority of the people agreed to change the name.
You did not miss that conversation. We have not had it. We can work with the co-leads to make sure if we want it on an agenda or to come up with some other mechanism to decide. It was clear last time we didn't have a unanimous consensus, and so we would take time if it was a request to vote on it. And we can make time if working with the co-leads to make time on another agenda for that space, knowing that this exercise was something we wanted to do so we could start preparing air monitoring. It was just sort of like a priority, but certainly Gustavo, if that's something that we want to all, as a group agendize, I know that the co-leads will reflect that in working with us.
Yeah, I think just to respect the, both sides, those that want and don't want. But I think if there is no consensus, and the understanding is that we can take a vote on that. And I think just to be sure, that people feel that their voices are heard.
Certainly, yeah. We'll work with the co-leads. I think one main concern, and I think this can be fixed with a fast vote, is to just we want to focus on all of the work and not necessarily the names. So what we'll do is we'll make sure it's agendized so people know it's happening. They can sort of make their decision ahead of time, and then we can maybe work through a robust vote where we hear every voice, but we don't. We still have time for lots of other stuff on that agenda, hopefully.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. I am not fully back. I joined on my phone, but hopefully you hear my audio. And I do see that Bianca has their hand raised. Thank you so much, Amy, for stepping in.
Yes, I have a question for Jessica. You mentioned the amount of monitors that is set at the moment, but can it fluctuate after reviewing everybody's comments on the monitoring? I'm just wondering because there is a big push for like the PM10 and everything like that. If we minimize a little bit on the PM 2.5 and put a PM10, would those changes happen? And also you had mentioned about the mobile sources, the mobile monitor. Is it possible to add a little bit more in this area, like another monitor? Because there's actually two cities or two locations, even though we're in the same range, but it's two different type of locations.
To both of those questions, we definitely want to take all of this into account. We hadn't ordered all of the monitoring equipment for this reason, knowing that we might get a little different feedback than than maybe we would have anticipated on our end, just from our look at it. So it's definitely a discussion, and that will be part of that discussion with maybe the proposal and the after reviewing all of the comments that we come back at the December 15th meeting. That can be a part of that discussion too, of saying, hey, look, I know, we said that we were going to do 4 PM 2.5, but maybe, like you said, one of them is PM 10 because of the feedback we saw. So great question, Bianca, and we want to be that flexibility a little bit reflected in the discussion on December 15th.
Wonderful. Well, we're about to close out shortly. We did want to just put the instructions for the public comment on our screen in case there's someone from the public that did want to make a comment during these final remarks. You can feel free to raise your hand by putting *9, and we can go ahead and create space for your comments. I think that might have been all the comments that we had. Well, thank you so much. With that, I do want to end with either Jessica or the community co-leads. Thank you so much for joining and just engaging in such a dynamic and rich conversation for the betterment of your community. It's been an honor to see that happen. If others do have any parting remarks, this will be the time.
Yeah, I will just say thank you. I know that there's a couple others that have their hands raised.
Wonderful. We could get started with Emma.
Sorry, I was just wanting to acknowledge the question about the stipend, and I was wondering if it was going to be addressed. Thank you.
Sorry, I might have missed a question. Was it about timing?
Yeah. I can answer that after we're done with any other comments that we have. That I do have an update about stipends. I see Jesus has a hand.
Hey, buenas tardes todos. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to second what Gustavo Sr. said about, revisiting the name change. Fully support it. We're more than just two communities. So I think South Kern is an appropriate name for our group. Just, to amplify that.
Thank you, Jesus. Gus, it looks like Senior Gus, or no, Gus Aguirre, community co-lead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, just to bring it to a suggestion, if we can maybe just vote on this, through our charter, we have majority vote. If we could apply that next meeting to the name change, that way it doesn't really derail from the rest of this amazing progress that we've done so far.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Gus. All right, Amy, take it away.
Thank you, everyone. This comment is for the CSC members. So as you know, Harder & Company has now officially taken over the facilitation role, which also includes distributing stipends. All CSC members should have received a call this week from our team's administrative staff to confirm your address. So we will be mailing your addresses to the file that you have, or to the address that you have on file with the previous facilitator. But we just want to confirm that that's your actual address before we send out the mail check. And we're also offering a direct deposit option. So this is a way to get your funds faster through an automatic direct deposit. So if you don't have an email or you don't have a voicemail from somebody from our team by the end of the week, please feel free to reach out. You have our contact information. I will also drop it in the chat. But everyone should be getting a call from us, and we do expect to be printing checks on the 2nd and 4th week of every month. So Arvin Lamont's sessions, depending on when they happen, they will either be cut on the next 2nd week of the month or the 4th. So we'll be printing checks twice a month. I know that we are backed up given, as you know, the contracting government process, but do expect to get those checks mailed to you as soon as we get confirmation from your address. You have our email there. And in addition to that, we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. Remember, we have 2 meetings in December, and we will see you all then. And I'm happy to stay on if CSC members want to confirm addresses now or have any questions now. I will stay on for a few more minutes, but this meeting now is officially over. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Buenas noches. Adiós.
Gracias, buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Gracias.
Good night,
Buenas noches.
Arvin and
Y
Lamont.
muchas gracias.
AB 617.
Gracias, buenas noches.
Buenas noches, gracias a ustedes. We can stop the live stream.
Have Tim Prado that is raising his hand.
Tim?
Yeah, I had a question regarding the stipend. I know that we changed facilitators, but the previous facilitator, I don't know if they made a final decision about the 2 special meetings we had with the Air District, if those stipends were going to be paid.
Great question. I unfortunately cannot answer that for you. It's before my time, but Jessica is here.
Definitely. Which meeting are you referring to, Tim? So I can just double check.
I know in one of the months, I don't know if it was May or June, but we had 2 meetings. So I'm wondering about that one, because I think that's the only one that I have missing from the previous facilitator. And then regarding the address, like, are you sure they're gonna start calling this week? Or because I haven't received a call, so I was like, or an email,
we started this week. Yeah, we started this week. It's Wednesday, so we're not done, and there's a lot of people to call. So we are randomly calling through the list. But yeah, the phone calls have gone out.
And Tim, I will double check with our team. I have a note to call you tomorrow, just to double check with our team so that we can I can send them all home, but to make sure that I am correct on which dates should have received stipend for.
And Zong and I are going to be working on that tomorrow to make sure that we reconcile all the files. So we'll make a note of that as well, just to monitor it.
Thanks, Mike.
I just want to note we're still live streaming, team. Just FYI, only Daniela has the ability as host.
I know I can't. My computer is completely like I can't do
just
it.
Keep that in mind.
I was going to say we can do, if there are no other pressing questions, maybe we can just end the meeting and folks have we can remind folks that they have Amy's contact.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Did not realize.
I just have one quick. I'm sorry. I have a quick comment. If you need any help in any of the calls, because I know there's a lot of people that are working at the time. If you don't catch anybody, I do have a group chat that I'm able to contact them and shoot them a text message.
Bianca, if you don't mind, I will reach out to you tomorrow because we've made hundreds of calls and left voicemails, and would love to expedite that because the sooner we can confirm, the faster we can get it, especially if people want direct deposit. That will expedite the process. So Bianca, I will reach out to you tomorrow with an email. Thank you all.
Okay, sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Good night, everyone.
And look, before you guys end the meeting, I just wanted to read into the record a comment through the phone line. I guess she wasn't able to unmute, so I wasn't able to get to her. So I'll just give you her comment now. This was from Elvia Garcia. Our worry is health problems. We also worry about the schools that are close to the refinery, like Greenway, and also the chemicals that are in Comanche and the smell that is on 233, and every other worry that we have everybody already mentioned. So just wanted to make sure I read that just for the record.
Thank you, Emilia. Appreciate it.
For sure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.